There are many different perspectives on breathing and a variety of different techniques, but we all seem to agree upon one thing, that breathing is essential and vitally important to all of us as human beings and as Qigong practitioners. As you can imagine, many experts on breathing appeared on the Secrets of Qigong Masters talk show over the years, including Dr. Ted Sibik, Gary Gamboy, J. Michael Wood, Jeff Primack, Wesento Young, and many other amazing guests. After sifting through many hours of recorded footage, I finally decided to feature 3 remarkable experts whose approaches and breathing practices I found the most helpful: Kerry Tagawa, Dennis Lewis, and Kai Van Boy.
Today, I'm honored to introduce to you Dennis Lewis, a longtime student of Gurdjieff's work, as well as Advaita and Taoism. He teaches transformative power of presence through breathing, Qigong, meditation, and self-inquiry. Dennis is a co-editor of 2 books, The Sacred Tradition and Present Need, and On the Way to Self-Knowledge, together with Jacob Needleman. He's a recognized authority on natural, authentic breathing and author of an acclaimed book, actually 2 acclaimed books, The Tao of Natural Breathing and Free Your Breath, Free Your Life. This 3-CD audio program, Natural Breathing, and just released book, Breathe into Being, Awakening to Who You Really Are.
Interested in breathing all my life. When I was a little kid, I used to try to hold my breath for long periods of time, which I later learned wasn't such a great idea. I think from early on the breath has intrigued me, but it wasn't until I really had some health issues after I sold I had a public relations agency that very high-powered for high-tech companies, and a lot of stress. And so I got involved in some, I had some pain that no one could diagnose. And so I went to an alternative practitioner of Qinate Song, which is a Taoist form of Qi massage. And he was able to help a great deal and sort of awakened various parts of myself, breathing spaces in myself, so to speak, where I began to experience my breath. So in fact, yes, there are some ways of breathing which I consider to be more natural, more akin to how we were designed to breathe, if you like, than others. And there are some forms of, and in any case, many of us have picked up terrible breathing habits from people around us, from childhood, when we were criticized, when our parents said something negative to us, and we began to learn to hold our breath. And as we began to hold our breath, we began to then breathe faster afterwards, and the breath went up into the chest more, the upper back, and we stopped breathing so naturally. And then, of course, we're conditioned by this picture of the hard, flat belly that we see in all the gyms and so on, and fashion magazines, which is not a good picture when it comes to breathing. So I would say, for example, that somebody who tries to hold in their belly, and you can try this, anybody can try this right now as an experiment. You can suck in your belly, try to keep it really flat, and then try to take a deep breath or try to take a full breath. And you see
the person who is trying to take a deep breath and finds that it's impossible to take a deep breath, are they supposed to feel guilty now that they can't take the deep breath?
Oh, no.
Deep breath
No.
is the correct breath?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Oh,
There's no guilt here. No guilt at all. There's just learning the principles of natural breathing.
So in other words, breathing can be freed when you are no longer stuck in your head.
Absolutely. And in fact, you see that the more you are lost in your thoughts, or as I would say, or as Gurdjieff would say, identified with your thoughts, or attached to your thoughts, which comes out more of the Indian tradition, the more you're attached, the faster your breathing is going to be, and the higher up it's going to be.
And does it have anything to do with emotional state? We know that certain emotional states accelerate breath rate.
Absolutely, yes, and that's one of the things that needs to be looked at right here. We can talk about it for a second. We've always had stress in our lives. Humanity has always had stress, but we've not always had full-time stress. But in my work, what I'm looking for is this return to the nameless, this return to the source simultaneously. Things, if we become identified with a certain set of them or subset of what makes a good life, what my life should be like, all the stories we tell ourselves about this, if I identify with that, then in fact I will lose this sense of awe. I will lose this sense of wonder. I will lose this sense of the nameless being the beginning of heaven and earth.
Today, I am honored to introduce to you Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa here. He got his first big break as an actor when he was cast in Bernardo Bertolucci's film The Last Emperor. He played roles in James Bond's License to Kill, Rising Sun, Mortal Kombat, Planet of the Apes, and dozens of other movies. He was also in many TV series, including Baywatch and Hawaii Five-0. Everyone who knows him personally always note his calm and centered energy associated with being beyond winning and losing. For over 35 years, Cary Tagawa has been developing his new form of martial arts called Chushin.
First of all, maintaining some sort of calm and peace, although in a total state of conflict, of coming to a quick decision and then committing to that decision. And typically, we would think martial arts would denote fighting, and of course we know it's not just that. It certainly is a big part, but the other half being resolution without conflict, also the healing I liken to be another half. So three halves of the martial arts. I was very much inspired by Bruce, and certainly the part that I have incorporated into my particular form called Chushin. Chushin meaning to be inside or in the middle of your heart mind, and together those two thoughts in Chinese, Japanese thought means to be centered. So this, in fact, Chushin is the art of centering, how to discover, uncover, recover your center, a place from which we can always draw on, always be dependent on, to be a place of peace and protection, how to move in any given situation with the calmest state of mind. The art of being doesn't require conflict in order to have an identity. And I think a lot of times, especially these days, martial artists identify themselves very clearly as fighters, certainly soldier-like or warrior-like. When you say influences, there are three people that I tend to group together as, of course, Bruce Lee, Jimi Hendrix, and the Dalai Lama. So with this oxygenation circulation, I'm looking at increasing blood to the brain, greater use of the brain, and have it be not just a mechanical tool of thought, that we overemphasize the mind so much, it's ridiculous. In this particular form, the heart-mind, heart-mind, in Japanese, the word kokoro. And kokoro means soul, but in its sort of essence, it has a combination of both the heart and mind, heart-mind energy. In fact, I think there's an institute called the Heart-Mind Institute. These are the kind of things that I believe, when stimulated, when maintained very simply by breathing and very simple kind of gravity-type exercises, that we should be able to live longer at a better quality and evolve in our consciousness and thoughts, that if given half a chance to at least be healthy and feel good, at least feel good, give your cells what they want. You feed it, they will feed you. Will give you this peace of mind, will give you this calm centeredness, that from that kind of physical sense, it's hard for me to believe that we would be treating each other the way that we have up to this point. Very, very simple principle, very, very simple application that I believe can be a complicated situation, highly, highly diffused. So yes, I do believe, long answer to your question about evolution, yes, I believe this system can have that effect. And certainly Qigong and other breath-oriented modalities absolutely have a key to furthering the discovery of that. I do not have any limitation in my, or boundaries, negatively certainly, about the power of breath for everybody. I mean, there are no physical training system for gamers who are required to have the sort of mental focus and concentration that martial artists have, that soldiers have. It's certainly not in anywhere near the environment and situations that martial artists or soldiers find themselves in. But as far as being a human being, as far as the use of the brain, the use of hand-eye coordination, motor skills, they find gamers have the ability to, with the expertise of that hand-eye coordination kind of thing, that they've been doing studies on gamers doing simulated brain surgery and coming out better than educated brain surgeons. Qixin is the deepest part of who I am. It is who I am. It is my being. It is my intention to be of service, to come from a very deep, intense part of my own Japanese soul. At the most basic level, an understanding that could be had if we lived a little bit more basically ourselves. If we lived with a little bit more human value in our day-to-day lives, it wouldn't be so mysterious. And I like our confusion or misunderstanding about Eastern culture simply because we've taken a simple thing, we've turned it into one of the most complex. The power of the breath, the simplicity of the movements we use, implements not only the staff, but the use of a chair, the doorway, stairs in the house. I have a whole system that is about utilizing the house as a complete temple kind of gym, for lack of a better word, because it is a spiritual experience. It can be just the physical, depending on each person, and I don't demand or require that people be of a certain kind of consciousness. It's really that breath will work for any kind of consciousness, any kind of body. One thing it can do is absolutely change the nature of the metabolism if it means heal and heal, but we are careful about using the word healing certainly for medical and legal reasons. But certainly it can't affect the functioning of the cell. If that means to heal it, to actually feel better from that, then so be it.
Today, I'm delighted to introduce to you, or perhaps reintroduce, Kai Van Bodhi, who is an acupuncturist in the state of California and a practitioner of Qigong for many years. Thank you so much, Kai, for joining us today.
My pleasure, Lam. It's always great to see you.
We decided that we would dive deeper today into the subject of breathing practices.
Yes.
And of course, breathing is one of the major components of Qigong, as well as Tai Chi and similar disciplines. Can you share with us a little bit about your approach to breathing and where you learned it from?
Well, breath has always been a primary factor in my life. When I was born, I was premature 3 months, and one of my lungs didn't open fully. There's a chemical that we developed called surfactant, and that makes the bronchioles open. Now, I only had one lung, so I was on a respirator my first 3 months of life. And up until about age 6 or 7, I got pneumonia every year. So I knew what it was like to deal with breathing problems in my early life.
Very cool. So what I hear you saying is that you started practicing breathing before you even supposed to be born.
That's right. I started early and almost unsuccessfully.
So what was it that put you on a successful track, so to speak? How was your first steps in learning how to breathe consciously?
I don't remember, but I've seen pictures of when I was a kid. I had to blow into this and make a ball go up in a little machine. So I had to work on my exhale to get it to go out there. But what I really think helped me back then was that my older brother, who since passed away, he used to wrestle with me, even as a little kid. And when my mom would catch him, she would scold him. But I think somehow him wrestling with me and that playfulness, I think that kind of jump-started my respiration. You know, there was like a laughing, a joking, a playing. Yeah, so my current breathing practice is mainly 9-breath method and variations of it. And I was first introduced to pranayama, or Indian breathing, where they tend to be less conservative. I was exposed to some of that early on when I was in Asia, in Taiwan. And I remember this one, he was a tantric Buddhist practitioner from Nepal, teaching a seminar in Taiwan. And one of the Chinese people asked him, it takes many years to feel qi in the lower dantian. And he said, it can take many years. And the student said, what do you mean? He goes, do you want to feel qi in your lower dantian? And everyone in the class was like, yes, we want to. And these were mostly Taiwanese people, native speakers, you know, not Westerners. And he put us through a pranayama where we were breathing in and out through the lower abdomen. We had our hands down here, and it was powerful. And pretty soon I could feel a tingling, a bubbling in my belly, and so could many of the other people. And he said, there's qi in your lower dantian. It doesn't have to take 10 years. 9-breath method is probably the fastest, most specific technique that is accessible to any person. Within a few minutes you could teach it. It does a myriad of things, but for one, you can really feel warmth and tingling over your whole body, and it brings about a state of clarity in the mind.
What is the objective of the practice?
The objective has 3 parts, and one of them is in fact to go into deep meditation. The first part is to hyper-oxygenate the blood. We've done some live blood analysis where a student of the school pricked the finger, looked at the analysis, and then did the technique and looked at it again. And you could see that the cells were less bunched up, as we would expect with increased oxygen in the blood. So the first part is to take in the extra oxygen. Then you hold, swallow it down, relax the shoulders, and you do a long exhale. And this is where often a deep meditative state arises. A point at which you could step off the technique and go into a standard meditation if you wanted to. Yeah. So it is meditation.
So it's like a prelude for meditation.
So one part is to oxygenate for health. Another part is to reset your mental emotional state. And so while breathing techniques of this type of power should be learned under supervision, at the same time the viewers can go out to a forest like you have here in Portland or in Santa Cruz, where the air is clean, and they can just start to take deeper breaths, especially laying down on the earth, on a bed of pine needles, and just breathe and do it completely, full inhale, full exhale. And I think nature will take care of you.
Yeah, and also some of those sit-insides from the pine trees or redwoods. My favorite exercise, I would say, for breathing is smelling flowers.
Okay.
Just the other day I was at the Rose Garden with my partner, and we were really thrilled to experience these thousands of rose bushes blooming all over the place, and just walking between them and sniffing all the different flowers. This is like a super breathing exercise without a particular form or counting the breaths. If you like these short clips, you will love the full collection of interviews included in this season of our show that you can find at qigongmasters.com/breathing. And if you'd like to get access to our current season on success, please go to qigongmasters.com and join our tribe. As a charter member, you'll get a generously discounted membership and several awesome bonuses, including the online courses on Qigong fundamentals, how to overcome Qigong problems, and abundance through being in a flow. Please click the button below this video and join our international community of Qigong practitioners dedicated to helping you manifest and live your dream of mastering the energy arts.